Welcome back to the Hephaestus Challenge right here on twitch.tv/The Rob and Dan Show. Apologies for the restart there. We're having some OBS issues today with a few of our plugins. We are getting set up here for the Clamor versus DPA.
Yeah, these two teams are just going to be fighting for rank right now. Neither of them can make it into the gold bracket with this game. But it will allow them to get a better seed for the silver bracket, which is important. I mean, it's not just first place that's going to make it. It's going to be second place. So if you get to the finals in the silver bracket, you're guaranteed to get into the gold bracket, whether you win or lose the finals.
Right now, this is all about positioning, and really,
seeding is important. Seeding is very important right now.
It's going to depend upon whether you have a very long next few weeks or a very short next few weeks. And really, that time to take a break and to kind of charge your batteries up for the finals is going to make a big difference for teams. Whereas if a team can, keep things going through the finals, I mean, maybe that might be a boon for them if they just get a solid roll and just start clearing through teams. Maybe that's going to do them some good. But it is going to exhaust their membership nonetheless. And that exhaustion coming into the finals here could be a make or break scenario.
Yeah, I agree. What's really nice about being in the gold bracket, not only do you not have to worry about the silver bracket, but you get a little break. It's been a very exhausting 8 weeks. This is the final week of the group stages where it's hard to believe that it's already been 8 weeks.
Oh, yeah. Looking over at the live page, robandan.tv/live, up there along with our stream, as we are getting ready for Clamor versus DPA, it's still about, I'd say 10 minutes off. We're still waiting for both teams to hop in and be ready to go here. We do see Merry Men versus Sky Invading Rhinos over on Imagine Stream. Merry Men are up 3-0.
That I still think it could go either way.
It could. These teams are well matched.
It's 0-3, but I mean, Guns of Icarus is a game where you absolutely can come back. Yes. It does allow for that.
As if there's anything we've learned from the comeback kids during some of the Sunday events, 404, you can come back from anything.
Yeah, I remember hearing about that. They were 0-4, and then they came back to win 5-4. Didn't that happen twice in a row?
They were down 3-0 and then down 4-0, and they came back to get 5 kills in a row.
That's so insane.
Yeah. Incredibly insane. We do have the Ducks joining up here. We have the Quacker Jacks, and the Baron Von Quack, a Junker Pyramidian combination. I love Duck ship names. It's always hilarious.
The Ducks are amusing. I will give them that. If they are not anything else, they are amusing.
They're very amusing.
So they are going to be going up against DPA.
Deadpool
DPA
Army.
has not. They've been having a little bit of trouble.
Mm-hmm.
They did better against the Mad Hatters. They're interesting. I'll give them that.
Mm-hmm. Here's the situation for both these teams. Clamor right now, they are 2-4.
2-4, yeah. And then so is DPA.
DPA in the same situation. So this is going to be a major decider as to who gets to climb a little higher on that silver bracket ladder versus the people that have to get a few more done.
Update: Merry Men take it.
Wow.
Merry Men are going to be the ones. Merry Men are going to be the ones moving into the gold bracket.
Who did they 5-0 the Sky Invading Rhinos?
Yes.
Wow.
5-0.
Merry Men are back in business.
Yeah, they're going on to the gold bracket. It's going to be a couple of weeks until we see them. So that means, wow, Cake and Sir going down to the silver bracket.
Did not see that coming.
No, I didn't either. That is unexpected.
Who?
The silver bracket is going to be interesting at the very least. We have a lot of teams that are very close to one another that are going to be vying for that spot.
We're starting to get the end records for each team as we progress here. So Merrymen locking it down at 5-2 for the regular season of the Hephaestus Challenge. Cake and Sky Invading Rhinos both going 4-3. Both going 4-3. Now, I got to say, once again, I think we thought Sky Invading Rhinos would be competitive, maybe a little more competitive than they actually were. They did lose to HRA. They lost to Sacrilege, and then they just lost to Merrymen 5-0. Cake, I didn't think, again, people thought would be quite as competitive, but they definitely got up there. They had a really good showing for this tournament, showed that they can be a competitive team after a long time of struggling to make a name for themselves. Glowwater Thralls finished 6-1. Ryder finishes 6-1 as well. I think we thought they would be up there. I think that was a safe guess that both Riders and Glowwater Thralls would be high in the rankings when it comes to where they'd be towards the end of the season.
There was a little bit of competition for the second place spot, but the Riders really showed their stuff this time around. They did a really good job, and I definitely would put them at the top, especially with the Mad Hatters having so much trouble. The Clamor, they've been having a lot of trouble as well. DPA, Overwatch has sort of fallen from grace. A lot of these teams, early on, began showing signs of weakness. So yeah, Glowwater Thralls and Riders going to take it. I was not expecting the Riders to end up placing above the Thralls, though. I think that really does have to do with the fact that this week the Thralls did not have their regular crew. I also think really hurt them.
I think it speaks to how absolutely consistent the Riders are as well, because they barely made a single mistake. Again, we saw during, week 3 against HRA, the Riders didn't have their normal pilots to work with. I think that hurt them quite a bit. Just like this week with the Glowwater Thralls, they didn't have their regular folks with them either. That hurt them quite a bit. So the consistency, when it's there, these teams are on point. Unfortunately, we didn't quite see that consistency this week with Glowwater Thralls. I thought that was going to be a much better marquee matchup that we would have available to us. Just without the regular crews, it's so difficult. Each and every player on these teams is so important. Every single player. The ability to bring the exact same people every single week, that's why the Riders are so good. We saw those levels in game there. They bring the exact same people every week.
Yeah, sometimes it's just about consistency. Something I've kind of been commenting on in I'd say the last couple months is that Guns of Icarus is beginning to hit that point as an esport where it's a year old, and that's pretty young. That is very young for an esport. But when you end up hitting this level of play, before, builds weren't necessarily as important. It wasn't necessarily, what build you took as much as if you could play it well. Now, and then after that, we've started to see, okay, well, certain builds are going to be better against certain other builds. And we've seen that begin to factor into these victories. Sometimes, you have two Junkers on one team, and then you have a Hades Echidna on the other team, and then the Hades Echidna just isn't going to be as good against these Junkers. So we see that becoming a factor in these victories. Counter picks are becoming important. You heard in the interview with Tora, the Mad Hatters are basing their whole strategy of ship picks around that. So obviously it's a factor. And now we're beginning to hit the point where, crews have always been important. But we've gotten to the point where crews are beginning to hit that point where, they know each other really well. That's been there for a while, but these cycles, they know one another. They know what the other one is going to do, and they can be perfectly efficient if they know their other crew members, but only if they know their other crew members. And so when one person is missing off of one of the ships for 1 week, we see teams start to fall apart. Armor doesn't come back up fast enough. It comes back up a couple seconds late. A turning engine is down for too long. A gun isn't available because it got destroyed when it should be available. It's these little things. A lot of it is engineering, but sort of under the hood. But that is so remarkably important. And we're getting to the point where gunners are beginning to hit that skill cap, kind of, where, you know, they like a gunner is really important, and now like it's sort of the engineer's turn to shine in like the progression of Guns of Icarus as an esport, in my opinion.
I have a tough time agreeing with that because, again, we don't see lumberjacks enough in competitive play. We don't see some of those,
make a point.
We don't see some of those really high skill heavy weapons yet actively used in competitive play. I want to see more of that. I want to see a lumberfish. I want to see a team successfully bring a lumberfish. It's tough to use. I know it's tough to use. But I think the control that you can get, especially on something like a junker, which has a hard time being countered, or a galleon, which admittedly has a very easy time being countered, the control you can get on some of those larger balloon ships is so important at times and is so underestimated.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see some of those heavier, longer range weapons be a little more active. Heavy flak, lumberjack, both of them we so rarely see, and I would love to see that change. So as much as I do agree with you to a certain extent that we are starting to see more a focus on really good skilled engineers and the pinnacle of what's going on with that, I have to disagree that we've seen the skill cap of the gunner, because I think there's another level that's available to us gunners that needs to be achieved. Really,
you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. I used the wrong term. Like you called me out on it. Thank you. No, thank you for calling me out on it. You're absolutely right. I think maybe with the current meta, engineers it's like their turn to step up and begin like that's the next step in the competitive scene. Until we end up seeing heavy flak, because I love heavy flak. It's so exciting to cast, man. You remember like last week there was a flak, and like I was watching these flak shots come in. I'm like, oh, it's so close on. Like it's just every time.
Mm-hmm.
It's like if you're paying attention to those heavy flak projectiles, it's exciting.
Sure.
And there's actually something I wanted to address in chat.
Okay.
Someone was saying, honestly, if teams still meat grind, I don't think you've hit a high level of play. The reason you get a meat grind is because you end up with a team that is not used to one another and they aren't communicating well enough. That has less to do with skill and more to do with communication, I'd say. And when you have players that are not used to one another, captains can get too concentrated on their own their own ship and their own thing, trying to stay alive, and they stop communicating with the other captain.
They're not looking at the big picture.
Exactly. And so that's there certainly is a level of skill to that, and being able to pay attention to your environment and remembering to communicate with the other captain. But there's also a level of comfortability. If you're not with people that you're comfortable with, you're not going to necessarily think, oh, hey, that's right, Graphic Sturdy can get me out of this, or I need to save Graphic Sturdy's life, or something like that. Mm-hmm. You end up just saying, okay, I need to pull my weight instead.
Yeah, that makes sense. Again, you have to place a big difference between solid communication and organization skills and actual game skill. You can be the best pilot in the world, absolute best pilot in the world, but if you're not good at communicating with your other pilot and working with them, you're never going to be that high peak competitive level, because you're always playing a solo game. Whereas the people that play cooperatively and work together and really utilize the full two-ship combo, they're always going to be better than even the greatest single pilot.
Yep, absolutely. Sunderland makes a really good point. High-level play has more to do with communication than skill. Mm-hmm. We are getting underway right now. We have the go-ahead. Redria, our lovely referee this time, saying you may now ready up. We got 2 minutes. DPA, yes. DPA still setting things up. They are going to go with the Deadpool Airlines version 10. And double Pyramidion. So it's going to be double Pyrrha versus Junker Pyrrha. I'm curious, Deadpool Airlines, what are they going to take? Hades Echidna, Nostromo, Gap Mortar.
Firaxis, I've actually flown on Firaxis's Metamidion before.
Oh, so much fun.
He runs that very tightly. It's going to be,
he does.
Even though this is a traditionally long-range map, that's going to be a very competitive ship on this. He's a good pilot. Go ahead with the map description, Oracle of Northern Fjords.
Northern Fjords, very interesting map. Definitely a map that allows for all different kinds of play. You have a very high flight ceiling and very wide open areas for plenty of sniping, but you do have clouds up high and down low that you can use to approach using that vertical mobility. And then you also have hard cover that you can use, especially to the southwest and southeast.
Alrighty, going through loadouts here, we have the Baron von Quack. It's a junker piloted by Jason McMorgan. We've seen him quite a few times. He's one of the regular pilots for the Clamor. On the right-hand side, we have a Gat Mortar meta combination. We have on the front an Artemis, and on the left-hand side, a Hades Artemis for that double Artemis Hades combo. We also have the Quackerjacks, piloted by Minigunner. It's a Gat Mortar Metamidian with a Banshee and a Flare on the side. Go ahead, Oracle.
Interesting loadout. Deadpool Airlines 10. A Pyramidian for DPA. Being piloted by the real Deadpool, we have Hades Echidna on the front, Banshee and Flare Launcher on the port side, and aboard the Nostromo, another Pyramidian being piloted by none other than the lovely voiced Firaxis. Gat Mortar forward, Carronade Flamethrower on the port side.
Alrighty, getting it started here. A couple flares going out to just make sure people understand. We're paying attention here. Don't get too eager with charging anyone. Couple notes on the builds going on here. First off, normally we see a lot of long range action on this map. We see Artemis. We sometimes see Mercuries. We see Lumberjacks. We sometimes see a heavy flak or two. We love to see long range sniping matches when they're close and they're tight. This is not going to be one of them, though. The Baron von Quack, the Junker for the Ducks, and the Deadpool Airlines 10 are both very much, I'm not going to say completely long range focused, but they're definitely more focused on mid range to long range firepower. They have the Artemises, they have Hades. The Deadpool Airlines has a flak available to it as well for when the Hades brings down the armor on a ship. Whereas the opposite Pyramidians are both Metamidians. They both are built to get in close. It's all going to depend upon who is the aggressor in this situation. And certainly, if a team decides they want to be aggressive first off, it might put them at a slight disadvantage because the other team is going to be able to take advantage of that line break that happens where one ship is going to get out ahead of another ship. That's just how both of these ships are built for both teams. And they're going to use that to their distinct advantage. So I think both these teams are going to play a defensive but cautious game.
Yeah, definitely. Trying to approach when either team has a Metamidian is very, very scary. That we've sort of seen the Metamidian shift from a purely aggressive build to something defensive. Oftentimes you see a long-range build run alongside a Metamidian for defense in case an enemy tries to get too close. But now the Quackerjacks getting aggressive, moving in on the Deadpool Airlines. Deadpool Airlines backing up with the Hades Echidna.
These are easy shots.
Kerosining forward. Yeah, these are easy shots. They're trying to get in close, but the Nostromo is right there, ready to use that Gatling and rip through the armor of the Quackerjacks.
Quackerjack, a lot of pressure on the Deadpool Airlines. Good pressure so far. Nostromo, not exactly ready. They actually, right after this engagement begun, Deadpool Airlines armor down, Quackerjack armor down, mortar shots going everywhere, but the Ducks lose the first ship. Quackerjacks goes down, but Baron von Quack in behind the Nostromo could get a kill. Nope, it looks like they're gonna try and back off. Good thinking on the Baron von Quack's part. I don't think he wants to go up against that Metaminion right now.
Absolutely. Baron von Quack backing up. He's got to get out. Like, that was a massive mistake. Quackerjacks went in all alone. The Junker could not follow fast enough. They needed to be a lot more careful.
As it stands, right after that engagement begun, the Nostromo lost one of its crew members. They did a good job of compensating. Deck Chief Marza has still not connected back to the game yet. So We're definitely going to see if he can get back online.
Okay, we're going to pause now. There was no pursue from DPA.
The rules of the tournament are pretty clear about how pauses function. As long as there's some form of engagement going on, no pause is allowed at all. Spots were continuing during that engagement. The pause was requested. It appeared to be just a few seconds after that engagement began, at least from the looks of things. So the pause was never granted by the referee Redria.
Yeah, Redria looks like he didn't allow the pause because the engagement was coming in. Quacker Jacks staying low. It looks like they want to do something similar, but this is concerning. Quacker Jack's now going a little bit slower. It's showing that big open port side and allowing Hades to come into it. It doesn't want to engage now. Its armor already being brought down to half by that Hades. Nostromo, though, eating a lot of damage itself. Baron Von Quack splitting its fire between the Deadpool Airlines and the Nostromo, trying to use those Artemi to keep those guns down, but it just can't get the disable it needs, so it's going to gap mortar its way in.
Great move by the Ducks. They got the Nostromo distracted underneath the arch. They went in for the kill on the Deadpool Airlines. Quacker Jacks drew out the Nostromo into a very unhelpful situation where it had to come all the way underneath the arch and then back over, while those two Duck ships took absolute advantage of that mid-range Pyramidion.
Big mistake from the Nostromo to try and go through the archway, because the Baron Von Quack was already very close. And now it looks like the Mandarins want to rise up. Baron Von Quack burning that hydrogen to get... or is it even burning hydrogen? It doesn't. It doesn't even have hydrogen. I just underestimate the vertical mobility of the Junker. Nostromo going to get gap mortared down. I don't think it's going to be too much trouble, but here comes the Deadpool Airlines. Hades Echidna finishing off that Pyramidion so quickly. Baron Von Quack does pick up the kill, but now it's got to deal with the Deadpool Airlines, which is moving in maybe a little bit too close. No, we're getting bursts on the Hades. We're getting bursts on the Hades.
I'm very concerned as to what the Baron Von Quack is actually doing. They were running away from the Deadpool Airlines when they should have realized the DPA, or the Deadpool Airlines rather, is a mid-range ship. If they get inside that arming time of the Hades, there's much less likelihood of armor break happening. Deadpool Airlines being very aggressive, though, not really caring about the arming time in the first place, and it's starting to show. Baron Von Quack may have taken some damage there. Their balloon is hurt, but overall, just not much damage has occurred. They've mostly just been distracting him.
Here comes the Nostromo. I think that DPA knew that the Nostromo was going to be able to spawn in sooner, and so the Deadpool Airlines 10 was just buying time, but the Quacker Jacks is in here now. It has easy arc on the Deadpool Airlines. Baron Von Quack losing a lot of its armor, though. Its balloon is down. Mortar is coming in. There it goes. And now the Quacker Jacks is all alone. Nostromo going to come in, knock the Quacker Jacks guns out of arc. No, it's not. Not quite well enough. Armor on the Deadpool Airlines down. And the mortar is going to finish it off just about. No. They get the ram. Armor down on the Deadpool Airlines again. They bring it back up. They're in tank mode. The Nostromo desperately trying to back up and get the guns into arc to save its ally, but the chem spray is going to do quite a bit of work on the Quacker Jacks. Armor getting burnt away, but the engines are fine, and that's the important thing right now. There we go. Mortar finishes off the Deadpool Airlines 10.
That's crazy. What just happened is absolutely insane. We're seeing some amazing piloting, but whiffs, I'm gonna call them whiffs, are occurring. Nostromo's armor getting broken apart. Quacker Jack getting the kill. Oh, their armor was down as well, though. That was a very risky situation for the Quacker Jacks. 4-3 for the Ducks.
Actually, let's see, the Baron Von Quack got in there. Deadpool Airlines throwing out Hades onto the Quacker Jacks.
Where's the flak?
Armor's down.
Where's the flak?
Man, it's not there. Armor comes back up. Nostromo spawns in very close. We're 4-3, guys. Right now, the Mandarins are on 4 kills. DPA sitting on 3. There's the Echidna. Deadpool Airlines desperately backing up. The Echidna could not finish the job this time around. They see the Nostromo. Quackerjacks jumps up. Mortar raining down onto the Deadpool Airlines, and that's going to finish it. Clamor pick up the victory.
Fraxis in the Nostromo attempted to get a very nasty uppercut and take out that hull on the Quackerjacks, but it did not connect at the right time. They only managed to give them a slight bump in the air. It just was not there. We've seen you have to use the nose cone of a ship and Hydra at the same time for an uppercut.
I call the Mandarins again. It had to happen at least once. Clamor pick it up. Wow.
The Clamor. Thank you, Oracle.
I do that. No, I've done that every single week. Every single week. I've called them the Mandarins. They're the Clamor. I see the ducks, and I'm just like, okay. Yeah. Clamor. Gosh darn it.
Clamor get the 5-3 win against DPA. They're going to go ahead and end their season, if I can count here, 3-4 for it. DPA is going to end 2-5, and they're going to take a little bit of a hit in the silver bracket because of that. They're going to be moved just a little bit downwards, more than likely. Clamor actually is probably going to get a pretty decent seed for the silver bracket once we see them come out. They're going to be towards the top. With the amount of struggling they had during the regular season here, I didn't think we'd see that, but a lot of their losses were to some of the major marquee teams. Glowwater Thralls, Riders, Sky Invading Rhinos. They did lose to Muse in week 3. It looks like, though, that they have really put things back together since that. So good on them. Again, they should get a pretty decent seed for the silver bracket. And DPA going 2-5. That's going to hurt them. That's going to hurt them just a little bit.
Just a little bit. It'll be hard to fight up to that grand finals of this, not grand finals, just the finals of the silver bracket. That's going to be hard.